Hey folks, this is Dave Smith at Correctional Officer Lifestyle, coming to you tonight with a video. This video is use of force in corrections. As always, I have notes on my computer off to the left, so if I look off to the left, it's not that I am trying to disengage. I am actually trying to make sure that I get all the topics out that I want to get out as far as the video is concerned with the use of force. As always, I have my coffee cup, Correctional Officer Lifestyle coffee cup. It's got a thin gray line on the back, Correctional Officer Lifestyle on the front. Yes, it is glitter, but it is black glitter. It is something that my wife made for me, and if you desire to have one, just hit me up in a comment, and we'll talk shop. All right. So, use of force in our profession. There will come a need. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. There will come a need when you have to use physical force to accomplish your goals. I can't speak for any agency other than the state of Florida, but in the state of Florida, force is to be used as a last resort only. Okay, there are several instances in policies and procedures that force can be used during. So the first topic I've got is when is it necessary, and when is it necessary? When is force necessary? Force is a last resort. Okay, force is necessary so long as it is within the policy and procedure of your agency, when a reasonable correctional officer takes into consideration the totality of the circumstances and determines that there is no other alternative but force. Okay? When your policy and procedure determine that you can use force in a particular situation, once all non-force alternatives have been exhausted, then use force, but only use the amount and type of force necessary to overcome the resistance, to quell the disturbance, whatever you're trying to do, whatever you're trying to accomplish. Only use the minimum amount and type of force necessary. Okay. Now the next thing is, of course, when is it necessary, but when is it not necessary? I have 3 things written down for when it is not necessary. Okay. Number 1, it is not necessary if you are using force as a form of corporal punishment on the inmate. Okay. The prison sentence itself is the punishment. We don't punish inmates inside a prison. Occasionally, we will have to discipline an inmate, but we do not use force as a method of discipline. It is not acceptable as a means of corporal punishment. It is not acceptable as a means of discipline. Okay. Number 2, in retribution for previous actions, we do not use force as a means of revenge, as a means of vengeance. That's not what force is for. And the last thing I've got written down here is something that I have heard more times in my career than I care to admit, because that's all some inmates understand. That is not cool. That is not a reason to use force. We don't use force on inmates because that's the only thing they understand. No. We're better than that. We are professional. Okay? Now, the next question I've got, it's going to sound like I'm talking out of both sides of my neck here, but when is it not enough? Okay? And I've got 3 things written down here. Number 1, if you're using an intermediate weapon, chemical agents, dart-fired taser, electronic mobilization device, etc., and it ain't working, that ain't enough. You're going to have to escalate from that point. Okay. If you are involved in a one-on-one altercation with an inmate, and the inmate is bigger, stronger, faster, and can fight better than you, you're spinning your wheels. You're going to lose. Okay. That's when what you're doing is not enough. Okay. And if the inmate has friends and your backup ain't arrived yet, it's not enough. Okay. You've got to get some more staff there. Now, when I talk about when is it not enough, I am always telling my staff, pick your battles, pick your timeline, and if possible, pick your battlefield. Okay. If you have a situation where, in order to, let's say, in order to overcome an inmate's resistance to a lawful order, okay, if it is, and by overcoming a lawful order, put the knife down could be a lawful order. Submit to hand restraints is a lawful order. All of these things, you could end up using force on the inmate to accomplish the goal of overcoming his resistance. If you're by yourself, the chemical agents hasn't worked. He's got a dorm full of friends, and your backup is at least 30 seconds away. You might want to disengage and choose not to fight then. Once your backup comes, then go back into that situation. If you can, remove the inmate from his friends. If you can safely remove the inmate from his friends, number one, you might just de-escalate the situation where force is no longer necessary. But number two, you have chosen your battlefield at that point. Okay. Choose which battles you want to fight. Choose your timeline. And choose your battlefield. Oftentimes, those are chosen for you. Corrections is inherently a reactive organization. A lot of times, you don't have the luxury of choosing whether or not to fight, choosing your timeline, and choosing your battlefield. But if you have that luxury, if you have the ability to choose those three things, do it. Absolutely do it. Don't let an inmate beat you for your cool and jump into something you can't win. All right? The last thing I have on my list is, when is it excessive? Corrections has been in the news a lot lately. Corrections has been in the news an awful lot lately. The vast majority of news outlets in the state of Florida, at least, love a story where correctional officers have messed up. There's rather infamous news story of a bunch of correctional officers being videoed by an inmate with an illegal cell phone, beating up one inmate. I'm not going to go into any details because I do believe that is still an ongoing investigation, but it's out there. Okay, there is another pending litigation from another incident that occurred in the state of Florida that has received some attention in the media, and it shows correctional officers in a very negative light. Okay. We have to portray a better image than what we have in the past. And one of the worst areas that we can mess up in is uses of force. Okay. So when is it excessive? If the force continues, after the resistance stops. Okay, you've used physical force, you've gotten the inmate on the ground, you've gotten him in restraints, and you continue to apply force even after the inmate has stopped resisting. That is excessive, and that will get somebody hurt, fired, arrested, and prosecuted. We don't need to be doing that. Okay? If the force does not match up with the policies and procedures of your agency, this is an extreme. I've no record of this ever happening, but if an inmate attacks you with a knife and you manage to get a hold of the knife and end up killing the inmate, that is so far outside of your policy and procedure. I know good and well that is not part of your policy and procedure. That will never be part of a correctional officer's policy and procedure. If you do that, that is highly excessive and will get somebody hurt, fired, arrested, or prosecuted. Okay? And if the inmate can honestly say, I didn't know how many of those officers it was going to take to beat my ass, but I knew how many they were going to use, that's excessive. Okay? You show up to a situation, you've got 2 officers on the inmate, they've got the inmate under control, they are placing him in restraints, everything is good. You don't need to get involved. Okay? As a correctional officer, you should know when your officers have that in hand. You should know when your boys are doing what they need to do. Your better job would be to manage the crowd, because there's always a crowd around a fight. It starts in schoolyards when you're in an elementary school. You have 2 kids fighting on the playground. Everybody's going to get around them, chant a fight, fight, fight's going to go up, okay? It starts when we're young. It does not change, okay? There is no need for you to jump in there if the officers are winning. If the officers are losing, by all means, do what you got to do. But don't get involved in something that's already won. Okay? That's all I got. Honestly, use of force can be broke down into those 4 things. When is it necessary? When is it not necessary? When is it not enough? And when is it excessive? Know your policy and procedure. Know your administrative codes. We have an administrative code for use of force. It is 14 pages long. It is 14 pages long. There is no way that I am able to quote all 14 pages of that policy, but you better believe I have a good working knowledge of it, and I use it. That's all I got for this one, folks. Remember, there's no place for domestic violence in this world, okay? I am talking right now about when is it excessive, okay? Domestic violence is always excessive, and never necessary. It is never necessary. If you are the victim or you know the victim, 1-800-799-SAFE, 1-800-799-7233. That is the domestic violence hotline. The people on the other end of that phone call have tools, resources, and abilities to help the victims of domestic violence. If you know the aggressor in a domestic violence situation, the worst thing you can do is nothing. Say something to somebody. And if you are the aggressor, there's help for you too. First, you got to admit you need it. Then you got to ask for it. If you like the video, make sure you hit the like button. You want to see more, hit the subscribe button. Make sure you hit the bell for notifications, and please engage. Hit me with some comments. Without airing any of your policy and procedure, without airing any sensitive information, and without disrupting any ongoing investigations, hit me in the comments with something that happened to you either during a use of force, because of a use of force, or a way you safely avoided a use of force and still accomplished the mission. All right? Remember, love shouldn't hurt. I am my brother's keeper. I am my sister's keeper. This is David Smith. I'll see you on the next video.